So, where's the underneath? Kind of a typical chip there on the lower oil pan. It's not a cause for concern, I would not think. Calipers are in good shape. Not that you can tell from there, but from actually running it. Stainless steel braided flex hose lines. Yellow sport springs and Coney sport shocks that are adjustable. All that componentry is powder coated, which is nice. Same other side. Calipers are a little dirty, which, there's no shock, no surprise there. Lower ball joint is showing some surface rust, but nothing to worry about there. Again, these oil pans get hit all the time, and so I would consider that to be in very good shape if you've only got a little chip out there. They are available if you felt the need to replace it, but I don't think there's much value in doing that. This is your master brake cylinder, which is a dual circuit system. You can see those are stainless steel brake lines. We rebuilt the master back when we restored the car. That's the steering box, bottom of the steering box, that was rebuilt. Little bit of oil at the bell housing, which is not unusual at all. That's nothing to be worried about. Which is probably what I'm going to say here, pretty much on everything, because it's just the reality. That's we replaced the slave cylinder back in the day. Transmission shifts like butter. The bushings for the muffler mount. Now, as I had mentioned to you before, see where the exhaust system is rusted. There's no holes that I've noticed at this point, but it's there. Stainless steel fuel lines, that's the fuel in and out. And then those are all insulated. So, a little dirty, but this is your inner rocker, which is in great shape. I honestly don't remember if we replaced the inner rocker on this car. I tend to say no, because it didn't need it. It's in outstanding condition. This is urethane bed liner that's tinted body color, which is kind of a slick way to go. Transmission. I don't know if this is in gear or not. Okay, no, that's good. So that rubber donut is in good shape. That's the this cable here is your speedometer cable. That's in good shape. A little bit of dirt back here, which is interesting that there's so little dirt. It's actually the heat shield here. Again, fuel lines, the floors themselves were replaced. Let's go to the other side. This is the critical stuff here, Now, what you're seeing is just a little bit of stain, rust stain. That's not rust per se. It's just, probably a little bit of rusting from, like rust water, if you want to call it that. You can see that that is really perfect in here. Let's get a better far away shot of the whatchamacallits, the floorboards here in a moment. But yeah, what you're seeing, like this right here, that's a pretty good example. Oops, that's a pretty good example. That looks like a rust hole. The video, I have noticed, highlights red, and so it makes, you know, something benign look like a horrible rusted area. It's not at all. This is about as clean as you're ever going to see in terms of rust. That's your brake bias. Again, you can see the stainless steel. This is part of the emergency brake. That was one thing we did notice, that one of the emergency brake cables is missing, so something we'd want to replace. This is your rear sway bar. Bushing, it's all in good shape there. Again, yellow sport springs and the yellow conies. And when we swing back around, we'll look at the overslam bumpers. Get a really good look, but the bushings for the trailing arms are all in fine shape. The differential has a little bit of wetness. I've never seen an alpha differential that doesn't have some weeping. So there's the old adage is that the only time to worry is when you don't see oil leaking or fluid leaking, because that means you're out of fluid. But this has been powder coated. This has been powder coated. Again, stainless steel flex lines, which is an upgrade. This is your fuel pump assembly. That's all new fuel filter. There's two fuel filters in a Spica system. This one here and one up by the whatchamacallit, by the in the engine bay. So here is, I was talking about a second ago. This is your assembly for the emergency brake, and there's one going over here, and there should be another one going over here to that hole, but there's not. So I don't know that emergency brake is all that important, but it is what it is. These are the axle straps and the overslam bumpers here. All that is brand new. Well, new within a number of years. Definitely not 40 years old. Tank, I don't remember if it's a new tank or not. I don't think it is, but it's been redone. It's in fine shape. I'm going to pause this and get my chair so I can sit down and get a better look from a distance here. Okay, I'm back and I'm down a little bit. So again, this is what I was referring to as a stinger pipe. And you can see there's no resonator. It's coming off of the what would normally be called the middle muffler, middle resonator. So the factory had a resonator here, but a lot of us like to replace that with a straight pipe. It's, in our mind, overkill to have 3 resonators. This is a particularly quiet car, even with the stinger. So, again, the back side of the rear axle assembly with the trailing arms. All that is in fine condition. Back side of the differential. And by the way, this differential is actually from a later model, Alpha 2000, which means it's got several things going for it, several advantages over the unit that was originally in here. Number one, it's limited slip, and number two, the axles themselves, which obviously you can't see, are, I think, I'd have to measure them for sure, but I'd say 25 to 30% larger diameter. And so that's a nice thing to have. Excuse me. From an operational standpoint, the limited slip is really the nicer, the bigger advantage. It's not likely that you're going to snap an axle unless you're racing this thing and really roughhousing. But it's nice that it's an upgrade. So this, again, I don't recall for sure if we replaced this. My pictures would show it, but it's in perfect shape. All the underside is coated in the urethane except for the tank itself. But the tank is, I don't even remember what we coated the tank in, but it's nice looking. And again, there's your floorboards are in perfect shape. This thing here is the clutch master cylinder. So there's your stainless steel lines going for that. Sorry about the lighting. Best we can do. I mean, it's, other than the rust on the surface rust on the muffler, it's about as well, really, I was going to hesitate to say pristine, but considering this car has been a driver, it's amazingly clean. I don't know if Ralph actually took the time to scrub the underside, but I would say, by virtue of the fact that I don't see any nooks and crannies filled with dirt or anything, that it was more than just him, wiping the thing down before he brought it over here. This car has seen no dirt roads or rough runs or anything like that. He's a very meticulous person, and being a car nut anyway, he has taken extremely good care of this car. I know he loves this car, and loves it enough that he got 2 more of them, and then ran out of room. And now that they're part of Peugeot, it's in his best interest to have a Peugeot. The tie rod ends are all, when I say new, I'm saying new when we restored the car, so they're not new like 10 days ago new, but they're certainly not worn out anywhere close to that. This is your hard line and your flex line for the hydraulic clutch. And again, as you're looking at this, you might see there's a bit of wetness, if you will, but that's so minor by Alpha standards that you're going to drive yourself crazy if you think this should be a perfectly dry vehicle. So it's an all aluminum block, aluminum transmission, aluminum belt housing, and aluminum by its very nature is it does a lot of expansion and contraction, and so when you have that going, you're going to have some leakage. Now, this, by the way, is the cartridge for the oil filter, and yeah. So you can see this area in here is dry. If you had the kind of issues that I would look for as far as the motor goes would be front and rear main seals. So if the front and rear main seals were bad, you would see this soaking wet. Same with the back side. Okay, a little bit of weepage. That is not anything that I would consider of concern and would not indicate that there's a problem with the rear main seal. I think I've run out of things to look at. I guess we can real quickly. Tires look like they've got virtually no wear on them, indicating that it's well balanced, or aligned, I should say. Wheels themselves are in outstanding shape. Maybe I can take a picture of that. By the way, there's the other blue that we're building right now. Left rear. Left front. Right front. Right rear. And if you're wondering why it's hard to get a hold of me sometimes, I think this might give you an idea. We've got 25 active programs right now. So, talking on the phone has been a little bit of a challenge for me. All right, I think that's all there is to see on that.